Hey dolls, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we are going to review the new foundation from HAUS Lab. This is the HAUS Lab's TRICLONE Skin Tech Foundation. This video is dedicated to one of my viewers. Her name is Carrie Ann Smitsky. She asked, have you tried the HAUS Lab Beauty? It said, I'm shade 250 and I love the match with the Givenchy Prism Setting Powder. I think she mentioned the Givenchy powder because she commented on my Givenchy's foundation review. So anyways, I've seen a lot of good reviews of this foundation and this is truly going viral all over TikTok and Instagram. I have seen a lot of swatches and I was amazed by all of those swatches, so I had to try it myself. So let's go with the claims of this foundation. This claims to have 20 plus skincare ingredients. This proprietary formula delivers ultra comfortable long wear performance without compromising your skin. It's weightless, serum-like texture seamlessly blurs and smooths for a natural luminous finish that wears all day. No slipping or caking. It has 3 major unique ingredients that I don't usually see in most foundations. The first one is a fermented arnica. Arnica I have used before on my bruises. I think I used the arnica gel, but way back in the Philippines there's like an oil, arnica oil, and that's what I usually use because I easily bruise, especially during the time of the month. So I've used arnica on my skin but not on my face. And I read somewhere that they use the fermented version of arnica or arnica, I don't know how to say it, arnica, because it's more effective when it's fermented. It has Intellizen 7 complex, which is a blend of medicinal herbs that promote healing and calming. And it has a bioferment complex, which is a blend of super antioxidants that protects the skin from stress. And I was so intrigued why it's called a triclone. Like, what's a triclone? Like usually when I use a foundation, they describe it as pretty fresh or light reflecting. What's a triclone? And when I researched about it, I saw a post on their Instagram and they said it's called a triclone because the tri is the trifecta of the groundbreaking foundation formula, because it's cleanly formulated, skincare powered, and it has long wear coverage. And then the clone means second skin finish, so it clones your skin. So if you're curious why it's called a triclone, that's the reason. This is also dubbed as a La Mer foundation dupe, so I'm so excited to find out. So I have oily T-zone and then I am dry on some other parts of my face. So I'm going to prime my face with the NYX Plump Bright Back primer. So most foundations except for MAC actually calls the golden undertones warm and then the cool undertones as pinks. But the HAUS Lab foundations, they treat their shades like MAC. So cool is actually golden tones and then warms are actually pink tones. On their website, they actually have a good guide on what shade to get. But when you are at the actual store, I swatched the 230. It was fine. Then I swatched the shade 200 and I find that this actually looks more warm than the 230. So if you can, it's better if you go to the store, to Sephora, to test the shades out first. And let's put it on my hand first. Ooh. So it feels like a serum. It's a little watery. It doesn't have a smell. You can see that it looks like it has a lot of good skincare ingredients because my hand looks very radiant. So let's not put this into waste. I'm going to start with my right side. And I'm first going to use a brush. HAUS Lab actually has an angled brush that you can buy, but I already have this. This is the Bdellium Tools angled brush. Oh wow. I'm just looking at my monitor right now because if I flip my mirror, it's gonna have a reflection. But look how glass skin my skin looks like. Do I think it's the right shade? I think it is actually. It actually matched my neck pretty well. I'm liking it. And what's good about this foundation is it's quite adaptable to your skin. So again, when I swatched 230, I thought it was already my shade, but now I swatched the 200 and I think it's also my shade. So it's quite adaptable. So I'm going to put some on my forehead. There's quite a buildup on the side of my nose. I'm just gonna fix that. First impression, it's so easy to blend it on your face. Usually I'm more comfortable using a sponge than a brush, or maybe even just my fingers. But with this foundation, I use this brush and it blended the foundation very well. It really looks like skin, a better version of your skin. When it comes to coverage, I kind of still see a little of my dark pigmentation on the side of my cheeks, and my pimple is still showing up, but I would say it has a medium coverage. It actually, oh my god, I'm just surprised because my skin looks so good with this side. Like, can you see how the light is reflecting on the side of my cheeks? It's a very glass skin. And if you know me, I really love foundations that makes my skin looks like glass skin. So one pump on my right. And then this is without foundation. So far so good. I can see a little buildup on the side of my nose though. With my pores, I'm not sure if it really minimized it. And usually if my foundation is really glowy, it would highlight the texture of my skin. I don't think it highlights my pores, but I also don't think that it actually helps in hiding my pores. So let's go on the left side. It's so easy to blend. And with one pump, you can already have this medium coverage. I'm actually adding a little bit more on my forehead. So maybe 1 1/4 pump can already cover half of your face. I'm gonna see if I can add more on this side where I have a pimple. Oh yeah, you can actually layer it. I'm just gonna blend the middle of my nose because that usually gets neglected. So it's a little sticky at the moment, so I'm just gonna let it settle for a bit before I set it with powder. But so far, do I think that this looks natural and skin-like? For sure it does. It looks like a healthier version of my skin. It looks very natural. I would say that when you see me in person, you still think I have foundation on, but it's so glowy and healthy looking that it doesn't look like I have a cakey foundation or that I have heavy makeup on. For sure, it has a very luminous finish. I like how my lights are reflecting well on my face and it really just gives it that natural glow. Now, do I think that it's gonna slip or it's gonna... Oh yeah, it's not set yet. Like if I put my finger, it kind of rubs off the foundation. So do I think that it's not gonna cake or it's not gonna slip away? That we have to find out. I think that this foundation has to be set because it's very dewy. For sure it needs to be set. So okay, so I'm back. I finished my makeup and I kept it more on the dewy side. I have the Dior. Actually, it's not a bronzer, it's more like a foundation, but I got the deeper shade, but it has this glow. So I also use the NARS Orgasm blush, which also has a glow. So I'm keeping it all in the glowy family. So I didn't use any cream product on top except for the e.l.f. concealer, and it really blended well on top of this. The powder also blended so well on top of this foundation. The only thing is, when I was doing my liner, I used an eyeshadow as my liner and a little speck of eyeshadow fell on my cheek. There. I'm going to use a more natural light. So the powder fell where? Here. And when I wiped it, all the foundation came off. So I have to redo it and then set it with powder. So this is how my face looks like with the setting powder on top, a bronzer, and a blush. Looking at the camera, my face looks very flawless, very dewy on the side of my cheeks. But when I was looking at the mirror, I just noticed this. I don't know if you can see it, but the foundation is kind of laying flat on the face. Like it doesn't bounce back a little. So like every whitehead that I have on my nose, you can easily see. But that's like looking at the mirror closely. Like when I do this, it's not too visible. But I didn't notice, I didn't even know about this, that I have like a little bumps on the side here. And I can see it with this foundation on top because it just is laying a little flat on my face. So that's my only concern with this foundation. But when it comes to the coverage, it's really good. When it comes to its finish, it's very luminous. So that's the only con that I see in this foundation. It's kind of laying flat on my skin, so it's really showing a lot of my texture on my skin. So now we're going to do a photography test. I notice a natural light, especially and on my phone camera, that I can see my texture, especially in the side of my cheeks with this foundation on. And the foundation is also clinging on the sides of my nose, which happened initially, but it started to happen after a few minutes. And these are the photos taken on my phone camera on natural light. You can see that the side where I use the brush looks better than the side where I use a sponge. I think that the sponge may have absorbed some of the foundation. That's why the brush looks better. So when applying this foundation, I recommend using a brush. Second hour update. So as you can see, I'm a little bit oily, especially on my T-zone, and the foundation rubbed off, especially on my nose because that's the oiliest part of my face. And on the side of my cheeks, I don't know, there's like a goosebump texture there. The foundation is really laying flat on my skin, so the texture is really showing off. So it has been 6.5 hours. And this is how my face looks like. So some of the foundation rubbed off on my chin. I don't know if it's because when I was eating, I was kind of touching my chin or putting my finger on top of my chin. So that got rubbed off. I know on the second hour, I already have this foundation build up on the side of my nose on both sides. I still have a medium coverage on my face, but I can see that the foundation also rubbed up on the top of my eyebrows, and my nose is getting oily now, and also a little on my forehead. And now that I'm getting oily, when I touch my face, like you can see the foundation moving. As you can see, my pimple is really showing off now. I have a texture there because of the pimple, and as you might have remembered, I added extra foundation there so that it covers it up, but the foundation is completely gone there. It just doesn't stay on my face, especially on the texture. It can easily slip off. Like, I was very careful with this foundation. I was careful not to touch my face because I know that the foundation will move. It doesn't look too bad, but the whole time I was wearing this foundation, I was very cautious with it. So I think I can give you my final thoughts when it comes to this foundation. I'm giving this foundation a 3.5 out of 5 stars. So let's start with the pros. First, I think that this foundation really gave me that luminous look, that glass skin look, especially on initial application. It's also very skin-like and not heavy at all. And I also like that it has a lot of shades to choose from, so it is very inclusive, and the formula adapts to your skin really well. It didn't oxidize on my face. And as I have mentioned, when I swatch a 230 and I swatch a 200, they can actually work on my skin because, again, it's a very thin foundation that it can adapt to your skin tone. So my con with this foundation is that it really lays flat on my skin. So when it laid flat on my skin, it highlighted the texture on my skin. Even like the slightest texture, it highlighted. Although it gave me a medium coverage, it was just laying flat and very thin on my skin. Do I think that this foundation lasts on my skin for the whole day? I'm a little doubtful because, as I've mentioned on the 6th hour, the only reason that it really stayed on my skin is because I was very careful not to touch it, just like let it be. And when it comes to their claims that it does not slip on your face, I don't think so. Because of that serum finish of this foundation, it easily can glide onto your face. And especially if you have oily skin, I think that it will definitely slip off your face. And when it comes to it not being cakey, I think because again of that serum finish and texture of this foundation, you have to be really careful not to use a lot of powder or not to use a heavy powder. Definitely not, do not bake with this foundation on, because of that serumy texture. Once you put on that powder, the powder will just sit on top and it for sure will cake on your face. So tomorrow, I think what I'm going to do is just use the foundation, use cream products, and set this foundation with a luminous setting spray. And also maybe on the 3rd day, I'm going to use this foundation again and use the Sephora Micro Smooth Multitasking Face Powder. And I will just be very light with this, maybe just like use a very fluffy brush and just like tap it very carefully on top of this foundation and see if that works. In all honesty, I'm not too in love with this foundation. I don't get the hype. I initially thought that I would really love this foundation on first application because it was very luminous, very glass skin like. But I think that the Kosas Revealer Skin Improving Foundation is the closest one that I can compare it with. With this foundation, it doesn't also really hide my pores, but it doesn't cling to my texture. So I think I like this better than the HAUS Lab foundation. This also will give you a very luminous finish. And another foundation that I like that gives me a luminous look is this NARS Light Reflecting Foundation. I like this two better than the HAUS Lab foundation. And the reason I love these two foundations more, other than it doesn't really cling onto my texture, and also these two foundations, they are not hard to work with. You can use different types of powder, you can use different types of cream. With the HAUS Lab, I have to be careful what to use on top because of that serumy consistency. So that's it for my review of this foundation. If you have used this foundation and it really worked well on you, kindly let me know in the comments down below what your skin type is, what other products you use with this foundation to truly work for you, so we can help the community out and also help me out to understand more of this foundation. Thank you so much once again for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll always be updated once a new video is out. Thank you so much once again for watching. I'll see you on my next one.